Welcome to the July 28th, 2021 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. I'm Chris Fraley, Vice Chairperson of the Zoning Board of Appeals. This meeting is being held electronically to protect public health and safety due to the COVID-19 virus and to comply with orders issued by the Governor, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and/or the Washtenaw County Health Department. We intend to conduct this meeting similarly to an in-person meeting. However, please be patient if there are technical issues. The Zoning Board of Appeals is a 9-person volunteer board nominated by the mayor and approved by City Council. First, we hear from Planning Services represented by John Barrett. Then the applicant or their representative will make their presentation. Applicants will have 5 minutes in which to make their presentation. Staff will keep time and announce when 30 seconds are remaining. We may ask questions of either the city or the applicant. We will acknowledge any written comments received by the board. We will allow an appearing party to express their support or objections. Public comment will be via telephone only. To speak during any of the public comment opportunities, please call 877-853-5247 toll free or 213-338-8477 and enter meeting number ID 938-1648-1007. This information is also available on the published agenda in the public notices section of the city website and on the broadcast of this meeting on CTN channel 16, AT&T channel 99, and online at www.a2gov.org/watchctn. You need not have signed up in advance. In order to be called on to speak, callers must press *9 to raise their hand. Callers will then be called upon by city staff one by one using the last 3 numbers of their phone number. Upon being called on, callers will hear an audible announcement that the host is allowing them to speak. We ask that callers start by stating their name and address and speak from a quiet place and mute any background noise such as television so that we can hear you directly. City staff will announce when callers have 30 seconds left of their 3-minute comment period. After 3 minutes, they will be placed on mute so that we can proceed to the next speaker. The board will then discuss the appeal and formulate a motion to approve the appeal. 5 affirmative votes for the board will be required for an appeal to be granted. Finally, any qualified party to whom aggrieved by a decision of the board can appeal that decision to the Washtenaw County Circuit Court on a timely basis. Thank you for joining us tonight. Item B is our roll call. Please state the county, city, township, or village and state where you are attending the meeting from. Candace Breer, our chair, is out this evening. Mike Daniel?
Yeah, here attending from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Thank you. Dave DeVarty? You're muted, sir.
Gotcha. Dave DeVarty. I'm here in the Burns Park neighborhood in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
I'm Chris Fraley, Vice Chair this evening. I'm happy to be here from Ann Arbor. Nicole Eisenman.
I'm here attending from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Todd Grant. Looks like Todd's out this evening. This is true?
Yes.
Okay. Elizabeth Nelson.
Elizabeth Nelson, calling in from the city of Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Charlotte Wilson.
She is also
She's
not
out. Okay. And Julia Good.
Here, coming from the Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Thank you. And that we need 5 for quorum, and we have 6, correct? Okay. Moving on to item C, approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. DeVarty moves approval of the agenda.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. I think that was unanimous. I'm not quite sure. But moving on to item D, approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the June 23rd, 2021 ZBA meeting?
I noticed an error in the minutes for item E3, ZBA 21-022 1302 Prescott Avenue. There were we voted on two different items. The non-conforming use, which was approved, but the vote summary shows that it was denied. And then the variance request, which was denied, the vote summary shows that it was approved.
Okay. We can do approved as amended and we'll make those changes.
I move that we amend the minutes to reflect the changes pointed out by Nicole.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Nice job.
Opposed?
Nice catch, Nicole.
Not seeing any opposed. We are approved. Moving on to item E, public hearings. I'm
We just
sorry.
approved the amendment. We need to approve the minutes.
I'm sorry. Yes. Well, do we have approval of the amended minutes?
I move we approve the amended minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Seeing no opposition, we have an approved amended minutes. Thank you, Mr. DeVarty, keeping me on track while I'm freaking here.
Great. Great.
Thank you. Moving on to item E, public hearings. First up tonight is ZBA 21-027, 418 North Division Street. Mr. Barrett.
Hey, I'm John Barrett, zoning coordinator for the city of Ann Arbor. Rob Fowler, representing the property owner, is requesting relief from section 5.32.2, alteration to a non-conforming structure in order to construct a new efficiency apartment in an existing basement. The building is undergoing a remodel and a reduction in units from 12 to 10. The basement currently has a non-habitable room and a bathroom with shower. The property is zoned R4C, multiple family dwelling district, and is within the old 4th Ward Historic District. The subject property is located on the southeast corner at the intersection of North Division and East Kingsley Street. The home appears on the 1866 bird's eye map of Ann Arbor and was the home of the Stoddard family in 1868. In the early 1910s, it was home to the Phi Alpha Gamma fraternity. Between 1925 and 1931, a two-story addition was built on the north facade of the home. The garage was constructed and the house was converted to apartments at that time. The applicants are seeking to convert a portion of the basement into an efficiency apartment containing 600 square feet of living area. The apartment will comprise a living area, kitchen, full bathroom, and closet space. The property has received all the required Historic District Commission approvals for the current construction renovation project. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Is it appearing large or small tonight?
We see your whole screen, not just
Okay.
the presentation.
All right. So you don't see the full screen.
We do see your full screen, not just the presentation.
Let me see if I can fix that. How was that?
No change. Oh, there we go.
The first slide is the zoning map, and you see the highlighted parcel in yellow at the corner of Division and East Kingsley Street. The next slide is the location map showing surrounding neighborhoods and existing conditions. And you see the zoomed in aerial photo of the subject property. Kingsley is to the north, Division Street is to the west. You see the home and its footprint and the 6-car garage in the southeast corner. The next slide is the survey that was submitted with the application. The next slides are the floor plans showing the existing basement. Or this is the proposed basement. You see a living area, kitchen, bath. And well, excuse me, that was the existing, and now the next slide is the proposed. You see the living area, closets, efficiency apartment, bathroom, and kitchen. These are the photos that I took at my inspection. You see the house is currently, like I said before, is currently undergoing a renovation project. Lots of construction taking place. These are the existing egress windows that were already in place. This is in the basement itself. This is existing conditions. And this is from Kingsley Street, looking at the back of the property, the garage, and the rear of the home. And that is all I have at this time. I'll take any questions that you may have.
Do we have questions? If I don't have questions, we could bring on the presentation from the petitioner. Kristen?
There we go. Unmuted. We have the applicant, Rob Fowler.
Rob, can you hear us?
I can hear you. I'm trying to get my video. There we go.
There you go.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for listening to me. So 418 North Division, we started construction on it last winter. And after 3 floors of demo, we moved down to the basement, and there was an existing drywalled room, egress windows, a full bathroom. And the owner was interested in, at that point, to make, if it was existing, we'd like to have the apartment back. So originally the house was 12 apartments. We took it down to 9, and then and now we'd like to add 1 back to for the basement. We have plenty of ample parking for for an efficiency parking for efficiency apartment. And it's just we just like to make it the best we can.
Could you clarify for me, John, what the petition exactly is for? Did they lose a certain number of apartments with the approval to get all the building permits, or what happened? I'm not clear on that.
So they're just gonna, in order to put in new habitable space in either the basement or the attic that previously wasn't existing or wasn't approved, which I don't know if this was ever approved. That's the issue. They have to get an alteration because it's R4C and there's more than 3. There's 3 units or greater. They had 12.
Okay.
They're just going through the current remodel. They're reducing it to 10, but they have to get approval from the ZBA in order to create new habitable space in the basement, even though they are reducing the number of units. It's really no different from any other alteration, except usually you don't see any type of structures in either the basement or the attic, but this time there was an existing shower and a bathroom, and that's been torn out by now. It was really old, right, Rob? I think it was from the 70s.
Yeah, yeah, we needed to run new plumbing and everything anyway, but there was an existing drywalled room down there, and that's what got the wheels spinning as far as to try to get a room back down there, since we already had egress windows. Because with it being in the historic district, if we didn't have the windows, we wouldn't have even probably moved forward on that. But we do have them, so here we are.
I've got a couple questions.
Go ahead.
So, Mr. Fowler, I'm just curious, are you reducing the number of bedrooms with the reduction in units or not?
No, what we did was we increased the number of bedrooms with the 9 apartments using how did we do that? Because we wanted to make instead of having 12 kitchens, we have 9 kitchens now and 9 living rooms. So we were able to convert that into bedrooms. So although we have less units, we have I don't know, 4 or 5 more bedrooms.
Gotcha.
Doing that.
And then as I was looking at those egress windows that seem kind of old, do those meet the current standards for egress windows? I'm sure the building department is going to have to sign off on it.
Yeah. Obviously I would love to put real windows in there, but with it being historic, I can't, but they do meet the square footage for egress.
And then I do want to compliment it looks like you're trying to retain a lot of the architectural features.
We worked hard on that. All the scrolling at the top and stuff like that, we remanufactured because somewhere down the line they put the asbestos siding on it, and we tore all that off, and we're trying to bring it back to life.
I'm just curious with with really paying attention to that architectural detail. I know this part of the city has a strong neighborhood organization, the Old Fourth Ward Association. Are you seeing support from them because of these architectural features that you're restoring?
Yes, they were happy to see that we're trying to bring it back to what it was back in the grand days. If I could just put new windows in, I would be really happy. But what can you do?
Right.
Are there any other questions or comments? If not, we can move on to the public hearing. We will now open the public hearing for this item. To speak at this public hearing, please call 877-853-5247 toll free or 213-338-8477. Once you're connected, please enter meeting ID 938-1648-1007. Press star 9 to raise your hand, and you will be identified by the last 3 digits of your telephone number. Press star 6 to unmute yourself. We ask that callers start by stating their name and address and speak from a quiet place and mute any background noise, such as television, so that we can hear you directly. While we wait to see if anyone is going to raise their hand, let's see. Kristen, do we have anyone on?
No callers.
Do we have written communications on this?
That's my next point, if I can get my mouse to act for me. Well, if we do not have anyone for the public hearing, we can close this. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing? And we didn't have, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. We don't have communication on this? Kristen?
We do not.
Okay, very good. Do we have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved if needed.
Okay, seconded. Can I do that? I'm the chair. We are now in discussion.
You have a lot of power here, man.
I don't even know it. Wow. So we are now in discussion.
I'll speak up. I see this as a improvement. It is
Sure.
adding bedrooms. They do have parking. I know we've had recent communication from a fellow board member about how our parking requirements as a city. But they do supply parking for these units, and I see this as a big improvement. So I will support it. It's just an alteration to a non-conforming structure that's easy for me to support.
Anyone else? As the chair, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I happened to bicycle by this the other day, and I was excited to hear some more explanation about it, because it really is kind of an interesting thing to see in person, the work that they're doing, and I'm really pleased that it looks like they're restoring it in a really lovely way.
As the chair, I would like to, acting chair, I would like to support this myself. I think it's density where density belongs downtown. Parking is a non-issue for me on this instance. And I just want to state that I will be supporting this.
I'll make a motion if people are ready for it.
We have a motion.
ZBA 21-027, 418 North Division Street, alteration to a non-conforming structure. The Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants relief from section 5.32.2, alteration to a non-conforming structure, to allow an efficiency apartment in the basement. The unit will contain a living area, kitchen, and bathroom. The new construction will not encroach any further into any of the required setbacks.
I'll second that.
Are we ready for a vote? I believe we are. Mike Daniel,
Mike Daniel votes yes.
Dave DeVarty,
DeVarty, yes.
chair votes yes. Nicole Eisenman,
Yes.
Todd is out. Elizabeth Nelson,
Yes.
Charlotte Wilson is out. Julia Good.
Yes.
We have a unanimous approval. The request has been granted. Thank you,
so
sir.
much. I
We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you so much.
Very good.
Bye.
Item E2 on the agenda tonight, ZBA 21-026, 7 Ridgeway Street has been withdrawn. Does that mean that we do not have a public hearing on that then? It seems to me that's procedural. It just, we move through.
We'll still do a public hearing because it was noticed,
Okay,
but there is no ZBA decision needed. John?
Okay.
any-
Yeah, we
the
just,
hearing is open then.
if there's anyone that calls in.
Okay. So let's officially open the public hearing with
Very
the,
good.
phone number and
Mhm.
everything.
Yep. We will now open the public hearing for this item. To speak at this public hearing, please call 877-853-5247 toll free or 213-338-8477. Once you are connected, please enter meeting ID 938-1648-1007. Press star 9 to raise your hand. You will be identified by the last 3 digits of your phone number. Press star 6 to unmute yourself, and then you may speak. We ask that callers start by stating their name and address and speak from a quiet place and mute any background noise, such as television, so that we can hear you directly. Do we have callers?
There are no callers.
All right, seeing no callers, I will now close the meeting. Moving on to item E3, ZBA 21-016, 2150 Frieze Avenue, a continuation from the May 26, 2021 meeting. And I believe we have Chris Chang on board who will do a staff report. Mr. Chang, good evening. You might be muted.
zoning board. Let me see if I can get the information that needs to be uploaded here. Okay. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay, as the board members may recall, this item was tabled at the May 26, 2021 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. They were requesting a variance from the electrical vehicle parking requirements. I'm going to just briefly go through the slide presentation again, just as a reminder, I think, for either the people at home or for the Zoning Board of Appeals members, and then I'll go through what's being requested. So this is located at 2150 Frieze Avenue. It's on East Stadium. It is zoned R1B, which is single family, which requires a special exception use for school and church uses. It is surrounded by, single family, multifamily, office and public land zoning. As you can see, you have Tappan Middle School to the north, then surrounded by multifamily to the east, and then parks and residential to the south and to the west. There's a blow up of the existing church and school and the parking lots in particular. Here you can see the existing church. I'll put my cursor over it so you have an idea. They are proposing a 14,500 square foot parish addition, which kicks it into a site plan for city council approval, which then, of course, kicked it into requiring the electrical vehicle parking. As you may recall, the electrical vehicle ordinance, I believe, was passed in February, and this was approved by city council in March. I think there was a little less than maybe a month difference between when that ordinance went into effect. Here's the picture of St. Francis. This is more of the entrance looking northbound. Again, this is the area where the addition will be going, looking northbound again out towards East Stadium. More of a close-up, that's looking out at East Stadium and the parking lot, where some of the proposed EV parking stations would be located. Again, another close-up. You can see Tappan Middle School in the background of the parking area. Again, another angle, this time looking from East Stadium up towards where the proposed addition will be located. Another view of the parking lot looking more towards the west. And that we can always go back and look at those pictures, those slides if you'd like. But from that last meeting, we had allowed additional time for both the petitioner and for staff to look into the proposed requested variance. What we've come up with since that time, the previous approval or recommendation or requirement for the EV parking was 91 parking spaces. And that's a combination of installed and then compatible and ready. So the petitioner then submitted a request that they would like to put in, based on 50 employees at the site, that they would put in 20% of the EV parking. So that would total 10 spaces. And what they're proposing is 6 that would be installed, and I believe 4 that would be ready. I did coordinate with the city's Office of Sustainability and Innovation, and they were okay with going with the 50 employees on site, as it's fairly close to what would be required for at least, the private school on site. But the difference being is not that they would allow for the 10% as the EV installed, but they also want to have the other ones that I think where the petition was asking to only put the ready or the compatible in at a rate of about 4 more. They are requesting that there would be at least 12 and 7. So an overall total of 25 spaces. And the reason for this is the Office of Sustainability and Innovation feels that this is going to be something in the future, as more and more vehicles come on board, that would be much more sufficient than would be the proposed 10. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And I see the petitioners also online, and they may have more to add when it opens up to their public comment.
We have questions from of staff or the petitioner. I believe just the staff questions to the. I'm sorry, I'm having a problem with my mouth tonight. Mr. DeVarty, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Chris, if you could go back to the parking lot design or the layout of the church. and where the addition's going? Okay. Can you say where the petitioner is proposing the 10 spaces?
I believe they're looking more to focus on the parking lot that's out facing towards East Stadium and the parking lot that's right in this area that's facing where the addition is. But they can, let's double check when it's opened up to the petitioner, just to confirm where those spaces will be located. But I believe they're located in these two lots.
Oh, okay, then what I guess from you, the Office of Sustainability with the city, so they're asking for more than what the petitioner is now proposing. Where do they propose? Or are they just saying, put more in?
Yes.
Petitioner, figure it out.
Yep, we didn't get into the actual location to where those spots are, but as long as they're located on site, they're asking for a total of 25. My guess is that the petitioner was probably, if since they're already putting in the conduit and the installation, they'd probably concentrate them into these two parking lots.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have other questions?
I'm hoping for a clarification. We received, I'm sorry, Mike. I just jumped in. There was a letter submitted from Ms. Coleman Garcia, I think her name is, and she lists she's on the Energy Commission, Coleman Garcia from the Energy Commission, and she lists some calculations for different requirements based on the UDC tables for religious assembly or private school. And both of those are don't equal what the original proposed number of spaces was. And I'm curious, she asked how the applicant came up with their numbers for the EV parking spaces. So just kind of curious, Chris, if you can address that.
Yep, I was anticipating that question tonight. Good question. I think that 277 spaces that was originally used in that letter, that was based on what's either existing or what's proposed. We based the numbers on what is required. In this case, there's 260 spaces required that are shared between both the church and the school. So I think there might be a little discrepancy in how that calculation came about. The other thing with that is, when I did the electrical vehicle charging stations, I based it all on a church use, which came out to the 91 spaces, because the school and the church share that parking lot. The school is used on Monday through Friday, typically during school hours. The church is on probably a Wednesday evening and a Sunday. So I didn't really feel the need, since that parking that's required, they're sharing the parking, to actually increase the number of EV parking spaces on them. So I used the church, which is actually less than what would be required if we included it with the school. So I don't know if I explained that very well of how I came up with the EV, but I think in summary, I used the overall 260 spaces and I used the church parking EV requirements for the entire site.
I would like to ask a question. Originally, we had 91 spaces that were supposed to be EV of some type, correct?
That is correct.
There's across all three types, right? There's plug-in now, there's capable, or I don't understand there's three levels, let's just say that.
Capable and ready. Yes, there's I, R, and C.
Okay. And between those three types, there were 91 spaces required. And now we're looking at 25. Is that what I'm hearing altogether?
That is what the OSI has suggested after reviewing the petitioner's response of installing 10. But this is going to be up to the ZBA to decide, you know, whether you want the whole 91, 50, 25. That's the discussion that we're going to have.
And part of that, as I understand, as I've read through the items, the documents that I've been issued, is that part part of the discussion is, look, this is a new ruling and are we going to be required to follow that? It wasn't clear to me, you know, where the processes were. I saw two separate dates set out, whereas the petitioner, their dates were first, and then we decided to change our ordinance. I also saw it where it read that the change of the ordinance was underway before they offered, or before they input their requests. So I'm not clear as to which came first. And I at some point, the argument is maybe that, you know, we're just the first people that have to, you know, that have this ordinance put upon us. But I just want to find out what the dates are, because I'm unclear after rereading twice.
I don't have the exact dates of submission right in front of me. I probably can find them with a little bit of scrambling. I would, if you, in the staff report all along dealing with the petitioner, and they can respond to this, they've known all along that these were tracking at about the same time going through city council. So it was a race to see which one was coming in first, but they were aware, and it was written in the staff report during the review process, that they may have to install EV parking if it gets approved before it gets approved by city council. So it wasn't a surprise.
Okay, thank you.
I'd
Go
like
ahead.
some clarification. Chris, you just said it's up to the ZBA to decide what number of units, but aren't we just doing yes or no to the 10 in the variance request?
Well, that's what came up, I thought, from our previous meeting when we decided, it seemed like that's the discussion we wanted from the ZBA, was there going to be some leeway? Was it going to be all or nothing, or were we going to come back and look at alternatives? The petitioner then came back with 10 total spaces. I coordinated with the Office of Sustainability, and we looked at it and said 25. Now, that was kind of the communication or the direction we were going in from the previous ZBA meeting. And if I'm incorrect, we could do it that way if you want the whole 91, or going with the 10 which they've requested. But I thought there was a middle ground there that we were exploring, but I will open that up for discussion.
No, so the ZBA has to decide tonight whether they're going to accept 10 spaces or not, because that's what's been advertised.
Right.
The ZBA does not get to decide how many spaces for the applicant. The applicant's chosen 10, and that's what the decision needs to reflect this evening.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
And are we, go ahead, I'm sorry, my mic.
Yeah, and sorry if I missed this, Chris. So I've read this a few times, and the church is proposing, right, a mix of stations that are ready to roll and then stations that could be turned on at some point in the future. What's the ratio that the sustainability office is asking for? Are they asking for all 25 to be ready to roll now, or are they good with like a mix?
Well, it would be a mix. That 25 would be, obviously you have to install. So they would be asking that 6 be installed, 12 be capable, and 7 be ready. That means in the future, if there's demand, you've already got the conduit and the hardware there ready to go to hook it up.
And who decides if there's demand?
You know, it's there. I suppose it's going to be up to the church or their members or the school, as long as they're asking that they be installed if there's a need.
Yeah, okay. All right, great. I'll save my comments for our discussion.
Any other questions of staff? Go ahead. Nicole.
If we deny the variance request, then they will be required to install the 91.
It appears to be the case.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have any other questions? I'd like to move on to presentation from the petitioner, if we may. And I'm not sure which of you is speaking, but go ahead. Mr. Ken, you may be muted. You are muted.
Unmuted now. How about that?
There we go. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I believe I am sharing my presentation. Can you see this on the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good evening. My name is Robert Keene, and I am the business manager for St. Francis of Assisi Parish on East Stadium Boulevard, and I'm speaking to you tonight from Ann Arbor, Michigan. I prepared a short presentation in order to hit the high points of my July 9th letter, where we asked for the 10 spaces. But after reading the July 28th recommendation from the city, I decided to make my presentation a little shorter. Essentially, after quite a bit of reflection and consultation and preparation since the May meeting, we felt it was feasible for us to propose 10 parking spaces with EV capability. We thought 10 was the number that would not present the risks that we feared, and it was a number that would make a good impact in expanding EV capability on our side of the town. In light of the 25 EV spaces that the city recommends, I wanted to at least let you know a little bit more on where our number 10 came from. So I wanted to, at the May board meeting, a comment was made to the effect of, why don't you at least do this for your staff? And that really stuck with me. And looking on our regular weekday parking, that evolved from that comment. So, allowing for the 10 spaces would allow our nonprofit organization to participate in a way that is financially sustainable. We believe that the 10 spaces provides the same impact as the spaces when looking at the entire parking lot. Hold on one second, let me move my tiles there. Okay, what I'm trying to convey here is that when we use the basis of 260 for the entire parking lot, but we're only considering an hour and a quarter for people attending mass, and we have 4 masses a week, 35%, we have essentially 455 car hours in the parking lot. If we change the basis to 50, and we're looking at staff members parking here, say 9 hours a day, 5 days a week, the 20% gives us essentially the same impact as using the entire parking lot. So basically what I was trying to convey was that by looking at the weekday usage, it gives us a more financially sustainable model. We're certainly open to expanding the capability for EV as our experience, as well as the utilization of the stations increase. But we're really, a major fear for us was having underutilized equipment due to circumstances we can't control. And one of the major things I pointed out in our letter was that if our sales price for EV charging is higher than what's down the road, we can't really compete with that. And we feared that the equipment that we installed has a fixed cost and it would be underutilized and we wouldn't be able to recover those costs. So we feel that modeling at 20% of 50 gives us a better opportunity there to manage that risk. We also feel that 10 parking places really meets a need in this geographical region. So when you look at this website for chargepoint.com, ChargePoint is one of a number of charging companies available. When we propose putting 6 EVI, the ready-to-go installed units in our area, there are a couple other places that also have 6 charging stations. So we thought that was a good fit. And then when we add the 4 in the future for a total of 10, we felt that gives us a really strong EV presence in this side of Ann Arbor, and especially, away from the universities and the hospitals in the south side near the retail district on Washtenaw. We felt that was a good impact. So asking the ZBA to consider 10 spots, we felt was a good balance between the market issues that we feared, as well as making a good impact here. So I thought it struck a good balance. The blue boxes show where we would propose putting the spaces, just like Chris pointed out, 6 in the front. One of them would be barrier free, and then the 4 in the back. And then in summary, this column summarizes the 10 that we proposed. The city planners recommended 25. I mean, I guess I didn't realize that you're only going to be able to vote on the 10, but we're open to something in this 10 to 25 we can certainly work with. So I would appreciate your consideration of our request.
All right, moving on to the, I'm sorry, thank you for your presentation, sir. Moving on to the public hearing.
You gotta take questions. Is there any questions for the?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Do we have questions? We see no questions. And now we can move on to the public hearing. To speak at this public hearing, please call 877-853-5247 or 213-388-477. Once you're connected, please enter meeting ID number 938-1648-1007. Press star 9 to raise your hand and you will be identified by the last 3 digits of your telephone number. Press star 6 to unmute yourself. We ask that callers start by stating their name and address and speak from a quiet place and mute any background noise such as television so that we can hear you directly. Do we have anyone calling in?
No callers.
If we do not have any callers, we will close the public hearing. Do we have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Mr. DeVarty, do I have a second? I'd second that. May I do that as the chair?
Yes.
Okay. We are now in discussion.
Are there written communications we want to put on the record?
I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Did I miss that? Do we have written communication on this?
I'm not aware of any. Chris, was there any communication or correspondence to you?
Only the one that was already attached in the agenda.
Okay. Well, that should be noted anyway.
All right, we're in discussion. Mr. DeVarty.
First of all, I want to thank the representatives of St. Francis for stepping up and agreeing to put in some electric charging stations. I think the future is coming quicker than a lot of people realize, and these will be used. I'm really taken by your showing the map where there are other places that have 6 installed. I don't see anybody there that has larger than that installed, and even the city is okay with, the city sustainability staff is okay with the 6 installed. I'm in favor of this. I think it's a step. St. Francis was kind of caught in the middle, even though they were aware this was coming down the pike. It came in pretty much in tune, simultaneous with them doing their addition proposal. And I'm going to vote in favor of this. I think it's you've taken a significant step. I think some of your staff people will be using this. I also want to agree with your assessment of looking at the charging stations as things that people that park there for 8 hours a day are going to use, as opposed to people that come for 1 or 2 hours for a church service are far less likely to be using charging stations. And I think that's a good, a rational assessment. So I agree with the 20% of the 50 staff. I will vote for this. I don't know what else I can say. I would encourage you, while you're doing the wiring, to increase the ready because at some point in the near future, you're going to be called on to make those. And while you're doing it is the time to do it, while you're doing the install. So I'm going to vote in favor of this, but I encourage you strongly while you're doing this to make a nod toward what the City Office of Sustainability is asking in terms of increased capacity for ready spaces.
Do we have other comments? No, I'm sorry, Ms. Good.
I'm kind of concerned that 10 is too low. The planning department said they went with the lesser number of looking at it as a church rather than a private school. So that 90 was actually lower than what it would have been if you looked at it primarily as a school. Did I hear that right, Chris?
That's correct.
So the city already cut it down from what's in the ordinance for what they were requesting. And, you know, I think people kind of agree 90 seems high in this case because there are some unique things with this case, but I think 10 is too low. And I'm kind of sad that we can't like negotiate a deal right now, but 10 feels too low to me.
Thank you. Do we have other comments? Or would the petitioner like to respond?
Can't take any more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's closed.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you. Mr. Daniel.
Yeah, I'm struggling here, but I'm going to lean with Dave on this and support it. I think there is a good faith effort here, and I'm going to support it.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the board? Ms. Eisenman.
I'm inclined to support it as well. I think basing it off of the number of staff who will be parking there for 8 hours or more seems reasonable. And this is a religious use is a pretty unique parking situation. And so I think they've made a good effort, and I'll support that.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Ms. Nelson, was that were you raising your hand? I'm sorry, I looked away from.
Sorry.
All right. The chair would like a chance to support this. I am also concerned that we're not fulfilling this to how the rules are written. It is also a significant thing to ask to put in an organization, to put on an organization that's not out there making a profit. However, I was struck by the weekday usage ratio as a rethink, and I thought that was more than reasonable. I like the idea. As a matter of fact, I think I was the one who said, look at it for your employees. I think that's really important. That's the use that's going to matter. And I support the petition at 10. I'd like to see more, but I would also support Mr. DeVarty in saying that when the dirt's open is the time to put stuff in. It doesn't have to be complete and ready to go. It's just got to be there. And if you can increase that number, that would be great. And I too am a little disappointed that we can't negotiate more, but I think considering it as a brand new ordinance, this is a place to be. I think we're in a reasonable space between two different ends of an argument. Do we have any other comments?
I'd be ready to make a motion if you're ready for it.
I would take a motion.
ZBA 21-016, 2150 Frieze Avenue, variance. Based on the following finding and in accordance with the established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants the following variance from Chapter 55, Unified Development Code, Section 5.19.1, subsection A, parking standards applicability. Applicant is proposing the installation of 10 electric vehicle parking stations. A variance of 81 electric vehicle parking stations is being requested and by this variance motion granted. Allowing the variance will result in substantial justice being done, considering the public benefits of the zoning ordinance, the practical difficulties that will be suffered by a failure to grant the variance, and the right of others whose property would be affected by allowing the variance.
We have a motion by Board Member DeVarty. Do we have a second? Seconded by Ms. Eisenman. We are now in discussion.
Well,
Ready for a vote?
We're ready for a vote. I'm sorry, I'm out of space. We're now ready for a vote. Candace Breer is off. Mr. Daniel.
Daniel votes yes.
Mr. DeVarty.
DeVarty, yes.
The chair votes yes. Nicole Eisenman.
Yes.
Todd Grant is off. Elizabeth Nelson.
Yes.
And Charlotte Wilson is off. Julia Good.
No.
We have 1 no and 5 yeses. I believe we have passed this request. It has been granted.
It needs 5. Yep.
It needs 5, yes. And thank you for your presentation, gentlemen.
I appreciate your consideration. Thank you very much.
Moving on to item F, unfinished business. What do we have as unfinished business tonight, please?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
I know the Delta variant is surging. Has there been any further consideration for us to have in-person meetings if everybody's vaccinated?
I'm hearing either December or January, Dave.
Okay, thank you.
It seems like ongoing business. Do we have new business? Is there anything in front of us that we haven't seen yet? I guess I can take that as a no. Have we noted all of our received communications?
Any callers, Kristen?
All of the communications have been noted and there are no callers.
We are now in public comment. The next item on the agenda is public commentary. Public commentary is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to the Zoning Board of Appeals for 3 minutes. To speak at public comment, please enter the number on your screen, 877-853-5247. Once you're connected, please enter meeting ID 938-1648-1007 star. Press star 9 to raise your hand. You will be identified by the last 3 digits of your telephone number. Press star 6 to unmute yourself. Please state your name and address at the beginning of your comments. Do we have callers?
No callers.
All right, I'm closing public comment section of the meeting tonight. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. I move we adjourn and good hope.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. All in favor of adjourning the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I believe that's unanimous. Thank you for your time and thank you for joining us this evening. Have a great day.
Have a great